we've got a race going on. Lemon squash versus cucumber. Who is gonna make it to the top of the trellis first? And there's actually a third contender in this race, and that is the first frost, because if that comes before they make it to the top, the frost is gonna win because it'll kill the plants. But anyways, it's Nora here from Nora's Ark, and it is actually the first day of autumn today. So we're in late September here in Wisconsin in zone 5A. And we haven't made a video in a while because the garden has been going crazy. So we've just been harvesting and preserving a lot. Just to give you an idea of how much we've been harvesting, we actually took the second week of September off from our full-time jobs to focus on the garden. And we harvested 128 pounds of produce. So it was more than 15 different crops. I'll throw the spreadsheet up on the screen to show you guys and give you guys an idea. But it was actually 127.99 pounds because we measure everything in ounces and then convert it to pounds. So that's just funny, but that's a lot of stuff for 1 week for 2 people. So like I said, the garden's just been going crazy. But today we wanted to just show you everything that we have going on here in late September. So just to talk about what I'm standing by right now, we have these lemon squash, which we love. They're so awesome because they're not that big. So you can just harvest one and use it as a side, especially if you have a smaller family like us. We're just 2 people. And then this is our second crop of cucumbers. We planted these on July 15th, so just over 2 months ago. And they already are doing really well, and we've harvested a lot of cucumbers off these too. So as I mentioned, we just want to show you everything we have going on in the garden today. So let's start by looking at our raised beds. So these are our raised beds that we have up here near our house, and we planted everything in here from seed just over 2 months ago, so it's July 15th, and sometimes it just blows your mind how fast food can grow from a seed. I don't know, we've been gardening for 5 years and it still just kind of blows our mind sometimes. But anyways, we've been getting a lot of produce off of these raised beds. We had our garlic in here before, so that's why this is our second round of planting, because we planted everything in here after we harvested our garlic. And we did a video on how to prepare your beds for planting after you harvest your garlic, so I'll include a link about that in the description. But anyways, what do we have in here? We have cilantro, lettuce, radishes, and bush beans. We also have some small basil plants as well. But as you can see, some of our radishes have bolted, which that's expected because we've had some warmer weather. But we are super proud of these black radishes, and I wanted to show you one because we've never gotten black radishes to grow without bolting. So I'm gonna pull one out. They just look super cool. That's why I want to show you guys. Like, how cool is that radish? First of all, it's huge. And secondly, it's just cool seeing a black radish. Like, it's just not something that you see normally. So we love growing things that you can't get in the grocery store and that are unique vegetables. So we're just super happy about these. But one thing I did want to mention for you guys, if you're going to try growing black radishes, is these are so spicy. So they definitely have a radish kick, so don't grow them if you don't want super spicy radishes. But anyways, these are super good, and we've been getting a lot of produce and food out of these 2 raised beds. So now that we see everything that we have going on up here, let's go check out what we have going on in the big garden. Here we are in the big garden, and big is an understatement. So we love this time of the year. Everything is popping off, everything is huge. Most plants are taller than me. So our tomato plants, those plants are definitely taller than me, and we've been harvesting off of those every few days. And just, it's so awesome because there's so many different colors and they just look so great. We love getting tomatoes, love preserving them, love eating them. You know the deal if you grow them as well. And then we also have our hot peppers. Those are doing really well. What we love doing with our hot peppers is making a fermented hot sauce. So we'll do that. And then we also dehydrate them if we have too many. And then what we do with the dehydrated peppers is we'll make a pepper powder with that. We also have our sweet peppers, which those are also taller than me. Not sure if that's a good thing or not because some of the plants haven't been producing that many peppers, but they are huge. So with sweet peppers, we just use those in a lot of our meals, and those mostly just eat fresh or freeze them if we have too many. And then another plant that's been doing super well is our kale. We have so much kale, we don't even want to think about kale anymore. We try to fit it into like every meal we eat because the plant is just so healthy and it just keeps on producing. So really happy about that. And who doesn't love kale, except when you eat it for like every single meal for a month or two. But anyway, we do love kale. And then something else too that we've been just getting a ton of food off of, don't even know what to do with, is our beets. So we have a beet patch and we've already gotten like 60 pounds off of it, and you wouldn't even be able to tell because we just like keep picking them, and then as we pick them, the other ones get bigger. So it's kind of like we just sow the entire patch with a ton of beets, and then as we harvest them, we're like essentially thinning the other plants. So they just keep getting bigger. And we have some in there that have been in there since the beginning of June, and they're like the size of small basketballs. So that's fun. Can't wait to figure out what to do with those. But anyway, speaking of humongous plants, as you can see, I'm standing by another one. So we thought this plant was big 2 months ago. It is humongous now. This is our zucchino rampicante squash, and we started this from one seed. So speaking of like how mind-blowing it is that you can get so much food off of one seed, look at all this squash that we're getting off of it. Started it from one seed and it's one plant, and it has taken over our entire squash fence in the garden. So that's super awesome, and we're super happy about that because sometimes you can have problems with squash. So we're really glad that this plant is doing so well. And what we decided what we're gonna do with this is we're just gonna store it in our basement as a winter squash, and that's how we're gonna eat it because there's no way that we could figure out how to deal with this right now with everything else that we have going on in the garden. So that's what we're gonna do with these guys. And then we also have a loofah gourd on this fence too, which we're super excited about because we've never been successful getting that plant going. So now we just have to figure out how we're gonna dry it on the vine. So if you don't know what a loofah gourd is, the reason I'm saying you want to dry it on a vine is it's essentially a sponge. So if you let it dry out, it becomes a loofah or a sponge, and that's just what we have to figure out how to do because we live in a northern climate, so we don't have that long of a season where we could just let it dry out on the vine. So if anyone else is growing loofah gourd in a northern climate, let me know if you have any tips on how to get that to dry out. But anyway, that's just super cool because we love being self-sufficient in the garden, and if we can grow sponges, that's one less thing that we have to buy from the grocery store. So that's what we got going on in the big garden. There's one more plant that I want to show you guys, and yeah, everything just looks super amazing. So here we are by our super tall pepper plants that I just mentioned earlier. As you can see, they're huge. But really the plant that I wanted to show you guys, last plant in the big garden, is our ground cherries. So if you've never grown ground cherries before, they are just these cherries that fall on the ground, as simple as that. You know they're ready because they'll fall off the plant, and all you have to do is pick them up, and then you can harvest them and just get the husk off. But they have like a sweet flavor, kind of like a fruit, but they also have like a nutty flavor. It's kind of hard to explain, but they're super good and they're super easy to grow. So I encourage you, if you haven't grown them before, give it a try. And Seth just comes out here and he literally just like picks up the plant, and then he just gathers everything that's on the ground. And we've also found that like ones that have more of a brown husk, those ones are more ripe too, but usually we'll just grab everything that's on the ground. And we're kind of like brainstorming too, like, should we grow this vertically next year? So that way it'd be easier just to see the ones that fall on the ground versus having it sprawled everywhere. Because as you can see, this used to be a path over there, and that's gone, taken over by ground cherries. But anyways, what have we been doing with these? We've been harvesting them, and then we've just been freezing them because there is a ton. And we figured this winter we can figure out like some kind of dessert recipe to make with it, or we were thinking maybe we could make a wine with it. because all we've ever really done is eat these fresh, but we just have had an abundance of them this year, so we've been just freezing them. So if any of you guys grow ground cherries out there, let me know in the comments like your favorite recipe to use with them, because we're totally curious to see what we can do with these this winter. But anyway, speaking of that, thinking about making a ground cherry wine, let's go take a look at our grapes. So as I mentioned, speaking of wine, here are 2 grape plants. We just have 2 grapevines. We have Frontenac grapes, and then we have Swenson grapes. The Frontenac grapes are more of a traditional winemaking grape, and then the Swenson grapes are table grapes. But I say it that way because we're probably gonna make wine off of those this year as well. So it was super cool. We got 50 pounds off of just 1 grapevine this year, off of our Frontenac grapes, and that's double what we got from last year. So it was super exciting. It was a little bit overwhelming because we had to get a bigger bucket to make wine in, but we're just super happy with that because we know we're gonna get a ton of wine off of just 1 grapevine. So we're excited to see how many grapes that we get off of this plant as well, because there's a ton on there that we're just waiting for them to ripen. We've been getting a lot more comfortable with our winemaking this year, so that's why I said that we might make wine out of our ground cherries, and then we're gonna do it off of our Swenson grapes, which we haven't done before, and then one more fruit that we're thinking about making wine off of is our raspberries. So we've been getting a ton of raspberries this year too as well, and we've just been freezing those, and we're like, we'll figure out what to do with those later. So we're thinking probably wine this winter off the raspberries. So we're pretty excited about that, just because when we first started making wine, it was really overwhelming, and now we feel like we're in a good spot where we're gonna try experimenting with other fruits, not just grapes. But anyway, just wanted to show you guys everything that we have going on in the garden here in late September. And it's fall, so it's exciting that we're still getting a bunch of stuff out of the garden. And that's what we're gonna do after this video today. We're just gonna harvest everything, so we're pretty excited about that. But if you guys learned something from this video today, please give it a thumbs up. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you're not already, please subscribe to our channel so that we can stay up to date on our gardening journey. And we are gonna get to harvesting.